Right now, polls are open. Right now, Donald
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. It's been a little while since I've live streamed, and again, you know the reason. I am incredibly busy, so there is that, and I've been meaning to talk about the Carnation Revolution for the longest time. It's one of my favorite subjects, and it's too bad Heretics chooses Carnation Revolution now isn't here, but maybe he will show up, hopefully. So anyway, good morning, Warren. How are you doing, Extra Bulla? How are you doing today, Desert Mantis? It's great seeing y'all here, and I will start to talk about this Carnation Revolution, a 50th anniversary, just took place on April 25th. I didn't talk about it at the time because on April 25th, I had a doctor's appointment that I couldn't get out of. So I just couldn't get out of it. It was after work, and it just wasn't going to fit with my schedule, working at night and everything. And things kept on coming up. But I am going to talk about it now. I attempted to talk about it last year, but some of y'all knew what happened to me midstream. So I'm going to talk about it now. Finally, the Carnation Revolution. So the thing about the Carnation Revolution was this: two important aspects came out of this. Actually, three important aspects came out of this. One, democracy for the people of Portugal. Two, it was done by socialists who defeated the forces of fascism. And I'm going to go into what I mean by fascism in Portugal's case, because there's a little bit of nuance there. And three, the results of the Carnation Revolution ended Portugal's empire. Their imperialism came to an end. One of the oldest colonial empires that was still existing at the time came to an end following the Carnation Revolution. Now, the thing about the Carnation Revolution is this. Leftists all over the world are fully aware of the Carnation Revolution. It's not a sexy headline here for the average Americans, and unfortunately, not a lot of American radicals are that really talk about the Carnation Revolution, and I think it is a crying shame about that. I became aware of the Carnation Revolution when I was in the Socialist Party, when we had the Carnation symbol as we had a carnation as our symbol at the time, which was supposed to be an alternative to the fist and rose, which is the symbol of the Socialist International, many social democratic parties around the world. And we wanted to be a little we were in that camp. We were not a member of the SI, but we were in that camp. We were previously a member of the SI when we were the Socialist Party of America, prior to 1973, when it split off into three different organizations: Socialist Party USA, Democratic Socialists of America as we know it today, and the Social Democrats USA. All were it is part of the Socialist Party of America, and they were all part of the SI at the time. So we wanted to differentiate ourselves from DSA with the red carnation, and then we eventually adopted the globe, which I think that they should have kept the carnation in hindsight. But the carnation, a lot of people's like, why the carnation? And that's where I first heard about the Carnation Revolution. It was because in 1993 they were like, well, you know what, the people of Portugal. It was they partly adopted it because of the Carnation Revolution that brought about democracy in Portugal. Is what I'm trying to say. So, and again, not a whole lot of people talk about this revolution here in America. My dad, who's 80, he's going to be 82 in September. He and I, we talk about stuff occasionally. And I asked my dad, do you remember the Carnation Revolution? And he remembers it, but it was more like it was on the news. It was a story, as a matter of fact. Hey, look what happened today in Portugal. There was a revolution in Portugal, and there's now a new government. And not much else was talked after that. It was just a passing story. And so I think it's important that we do talk about this thing that we call the Carnation Revolution. So let's go back to this history. I would say let's go back to 1932 is when the Estado Novo was established, and that was the new state. In English, it means the new state, and Antonio Salazar became the premier or the dictator of Portugal. Let me try to find him. So let me try to find Antonio Salazar. Right, there we go. All right. Now, Antonio Salazar, from 1932 until 1968, he was basically the president of Portugal, and it was not exactly a one party state. He didn't like the idea of a one party state, but it was in fact a one party state. But it was and it was not exactly fascist, but it was fascist adjacent. And what I mean by fascist adjacent is that he didn't like the National Socialist model of Germany. He did not like the Mussolini model in Italy. But even though Portugal was neutral during World War II, they lean in that direction, has sympathies in that direction, but did not fully participate nor want to get involved. And Portugal was out of the war. Also, he found the government of Spain under Franco problematic. I was kind of surprised to read that about him, but that was the case. And he didn't like the racist policies of Hitler either. I'm not saying he was like a benevolent, tolerant figure or anything like that, but that was a bridge too far for him. The whole National Socialism, the Aryan race, that sort of thing. That was just a bridge too far. In fact, he considered the Portuguese Empire as a greater Portugal. The colonies in Africa, the colonies around the world mostly, but mostly in Africa at the time, still part of the greater Portugal, and that all the subjects of Portugal, the colonies, were all Portuguese. And Portugal, in my view, is seemingly a little more, it was seemingly a little more diverse ethnically than than many of the European countries at that time. And so I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that race was not the central focus the way it was under the National Socialism of Germany or the Fascists of Italy. Now I need to do a little more research on, on how far it went, if it went in any negative direction. I like to know. But suffice to say, he had a stroke in 1968, and he died in 1970. So his successor was Marcelo. Hold on a second. His successor was Marcelo Cetano, and I hope I'm not butchering the hell out of these people's names. So let me find Marcelo. If my channel ever gets a little bit bigger, I am going to get an editor. Okay, let's see. Let me try to find him. Is that no? That's not him. Give me a moment here. I'm going to try to find Marcelo. Is that him? No, that's not him. Okay, give me a moment here. We're going to try to find Marcelo. No, why can't I find him? There he is. Marcelo Cetano was the president of Portugal from 1970 until 1974. And his government was slightly less repressive. He was a reformer. In a way, the reforms didn't go far enough, but in spite of describing Salazar as a lesser variant evil of fascism, when I say fascism adjacent, it was more like an authoritarian conservatism. It was more like an authoritarian social conservatism more than a racist right-wing ideology. It was a right-wing ideology that was socially repressive. And so basically, he started to soften up. Now, what was the authoritarianism like under Portugal during the Salazar Cetano years? It was more like this. It was essentially a clerical fascism. Portugal being predominantly a Roman Catholic country, it was the state church. And I believe that all churches that were not Catholic church were banned, and that was the only church one belonged to, and all of the churches were banned. That was how it was in Portugal under Salazar and Cetano. What also happened was they cracked down on trade unionists. They cracked down on socialist, communist groups, the left in general. And the PIDE was kind of like its intelligence agency, sort of like the CIA and FBI combined here in the United States, kind of like the KGB in the Soviet Union. You get the idea. Scotland Yard, MI6 in the UK, but all like combined. And it was kind of like a surveillance state. They kind of monitored and had informants and pretty much kind of kept social order in the country of any dissident voices that would try to undermine the Estado Novo, called the new state. And repressive it was. It was definitely a repressive country. And so basically, there's been attempts over the years to kind of to topple the government, to replace the government. Well, to make this long story short here, and I'm condensing this, by the way, really condensing this, comprising it. There's more to this, and I can add some links if one would like. So so let's go with uh Salguero Maya. So let me find Salguero Maya. Let's see. Let me find him real quick. Here we go. In many ways, this man here is the point man responsible for Portugal changing its destiny from a dictatorship to a modern democracy. He was a captain in the Portuguese army, and a squad and a group of army captains, some majors, people like that, some U.S. naval, excuse me, some Portuguese naval officers as well, coalesced together in secret meetings, and they were trying to work on ways to overthrow the government and to do it as non-violently as possible. Their aim was to do this in a way which was going to be as bloodless as possible, to do this by the most peaceful means. And that was the objective of the Carnation Revolution. They anticipated that there were going to be violence, and they anticipated it was probably going to be massive. They didn't want that. These people were ideologically socialists, communists, social democrats, Trotskyists, anarchists, the left, basically. They were radicalized by Portuguese colonialism, that they did not like what colonialism has brought to the people, to its subjects. And in spite, they just didn't like what was going on, and they wanted a new way for Portugal. So what happened was basically that they orchestrated a strategy, and the strategy was that we're going to go and the way to do this, Portugal is a small country, that they were going to go all around in Portugal, the military, a lot of the major cities, and especially in Lisbon, and take over strategic places, radio stations, television stations, police stations, hospitals, places like that, and take it over, and they were going to have an ultimatum to the government for their demands, and so that was the ultimatum, and they coalesced on April 24th, 1974. Everything was starting to take place. The signal was a song that was banned in Portugal at the time. Yes, a song was a signal to get everything started. That's how everything was going to start, by a playing of a song on radio that was banned at the time. And the song was called Gandola Vile Morena. I am so sorry. I can't play the song because of copyright, but what I can do is I can read you the lyrics to the song. And you heard me do karaoke, and it's a little bit difficult to sing, so I will not subject you. I'm not going to try to subject you. It would be cruel and unusual punishment if I tried. Hold on a second here. Let me get everything set up, and we'll we'll do that. Give me a moment here. Okay, hold on a second. Here it is. Gandola Vile Morena by Zeca Alfonzo. Gandola Vile Morena, brown shirts, land of fraternity. It's the people who lead. Within you, O city. Within you, O city. It's the people who lead. Land of fraternity. Granola Brown Town. Grandola, I meant to say. On each other's corner, there's a friend. In each face, there's equality. Grandola Swarty Town. Land of fraternity. Land of fraternity. Grandola Brown Town. In each face, there's equality. It's the people who lead. In the shadow of a holm oak, which no longer knew its age, I swore as my companion, Grandola, your will. Grandola, your will. I swore as my companion. In the shadow of a holm oak, which no longer knew its age. There you go. And you got to see video footages of its aftermath and everything. So there is that. And, as I said, it was, and that here's the thing. After the military, the rebels in the military, they were called the Armed Forces Movement. These leftists that decided to seize a lot of these the major areas of the city of Lisbon primarily, and they did take over some. As I said, when they took over the radio stations, they had announcers announcing for people to basically go and stay in their homes in the early mornings of April 25th. Stay in your homes because we want you to be safe. There is a coup basically taking place, and we want as little bloodshed as possible. Basically, what they were telling the people in the city, we want your safety. Your safety comes first. And essentially, there was the Armed Forces Movement, the socialists, facing the loyalists to the government. So you had tanks on both sides of the streets of Lisbon, essentially facing each other. And what happened basically, the government ordered to fire on the rebels. And one man in the tank on the side of the government thought about it. And he thought about it. And he couldn't do it. He got out of his tank. And all of a sudden, everybody that was, all the other soldiers that was with the government, they were like, this was a brave man. And they walked toward the other side and joined the Armed Forces Movement. Right there, the government collapsed, basically. There was a little more to it than that. Only 4 people died that day. It was a peaceful revolution. The P-Day, the Secret Service agency, killed people in a demonstration and injured, killed 4 people and injured several others. But other than that, it was actually one of the most peaceful revolutions that's ever been known. And so Captain Maya And President Marcelo Setano talked, and as they were talking, they made an agreement to have a general to lead the armed forces movement to basically work on a new Portugal. And so let me find him right here. General Antonio, I believe that's his name. Let's see. What was his name again? Yes, that's right. Antonio de Spinola. Antonio de Spinola basically became the head of the military of Portugal under this new government. And so a new government was to take place. For the next 2 years, between 1974 and 1976, when they had the very first election, it was called the ongoing revolutionary process. And it was during that time, well, before I go into that, the government at that time that collapsed, the new state, the Estado Novo, were treated kindly by the armed forces movement. They were exiled to the Azores Islands and then eventually to Brazil. They weren't rounded up and executed or anything like that. I mean, they were told to essentially leave. This was an unusual revolution, but again, Antonio de Spinola became in charge of the military, and then they, governed as Portugal was trying to work the ropes out to create its democracy. And there was, the next 2 years did have some violence between the left wing and the right wing. Communist forces, right wing forces, were doing a power grab, and of course the U.S. and the Soviets looked at Portugal and like they wanted to go get a piece of the action in whatever way possible. Well, here's the thing about that. Chancellor Wilhelm Brandt of West Germany, as it was known at the time, kind of worked away for neither the Soviets nor the U.S. to effectively get their influence in there, other than Portugal remaining in NATO. Portugal was a founding member of NATO, by the way. It remained in NATO. Probably one of the worst things that happened, that it remained in NATO. Other than that, Portugal ended up as a democracy. Yeah, there was a right-wing and left-wing fights that were going on during what was called the ongoing revolutionary process. The socialists, the center-left socialists, won out in that election. And more or less, the socialists have been governing Portugal for the past 50 years, interrupted with conservatives winning. Now, with the socialist governments that have been ruling Portugal, the communists would join in coalition governments, and work together. And in recent years, the Green Party's been in the coalition governments. Now, what kind of freedoms took place as a result of the Carnation Revolution? Free speech, for example, was legalized. A woman's right to abortion was legalized. Religious freedom was recognized, meaning that you could belong to any church you want. You don't have to belong to any church. You could be an atheist and the government won't give a shit. Portugal was recognized at that time as one of the most free societies in the world, and probably in some ways still is. Portugal, over the years, have kind of been ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. Became one of the first countries. Actually, the Netherlands was one of the first countries, but Portugal followed suit. Became one of the first countries to legalize drugs totally, and to solve its drug problem, and it's been a success. Portugal was one of the first countries to legalize same-sex marriages. Again, the Netherlands, I believe, might have been the first country to do this. So, but Portugal has been ahead of the curve in many ways. Spain became a democracy because of the Carnation Revolution. Because Francisco Franco, who's been the leader of Spain since the end of the Spanish Civil War in 1939, saw what was going on. I was like, oh shit! So he kind of made arrangements with Juan Carlos, the King of Spain, basically giving him all the authority when he dies, because he was scared of what was going to happen in Spain. And Juan Carlos democratized Spain following Franco's death a year later. And so I consider the Carnation Revolution in many ways, in the way I considered, Martin Luther King's movement for civil rights, that sort of thing, or Gandhi's, for Gandhi to work for the independence of India, that sort of thing. And here's the thing. Why did they call it the Carnation Revolution? Why did they call it the Carnation Revolution? Why a flower? The celebration was so massive in Portugal that the streets flooded in red carnations. I mean, they were so happy about what happened. And the soldiers had carnations on their rifles. They had it on their uniforms. They had it on the tank cannons. I mean, there was carnations everywhere. And it's called Freedom Day in Portugal, but it's widely known as the Revolution of the Carnations, or we call it the Carnation Revolution here in the West. However, you don't hear people talk about this revolution. Now, there is a movie about the Carnation Revolution. It is the prize of one of the prizes of my collection in terms of political movies. And hold on, I almost hit the wrong button here. It's called April Captains. It's called April Captains. It came out in the year 2000. Let me find that. Let me find that movie right there. And it's based on a true story about the Carnation Revolution and the events that happened. I mean, there's a little bit of fictional drama in there about people's lives and all that. But the movie's entirely in Portuguese. You can watch the movie for free on YouTube. And what I'm going to do for sure, I will put the link down. I will put the link down as soon as this video is over. On the description, inside the description box, so you can watch it for free, as I said. And I highly recommend the movie. The movie is in Portuguese, but you got subtitles in English, and so you'll be able to watch the movie and kind of know what they're saying. And it's funny because when I purchased the movie over a decade ago, my mother was visiting. My mom's Puerto Rican, so I was like, watch this movie with me. Because and I'll tell you a story about her in a second with regard to Salazar. Spanish and Portuguese are very similar languages. There are some differences, enough to make it a separate language. She understood more or less what was being said in the movie. There was some phrases and some spellings of words and what have you that there's enough to make the language different. But she told me in the 1960s, when she and my dad were dating before they were married, they were friends with another officer in the Navy who was related to Salazar. Married to a Portuguese woman, and she was having a conversation with the woman. She was talking to my mom in Portuguese, and my mother was responding back in Spanish. And so she shared that story with me once, but they didn't know. They knew a relative of the dictator of Portugal from that time period. I don't know what the political ideology of this lady was. She didn't know either. And everything. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting story to share. But I do highly recommend the movie April Captains. It came out in 2000. It's in Portuguese, and you may recognize the young lady on the cover. She's in the movie Pulp Fiction. Um, she's Bruce Willis's girlfriend, and I'm trying to remember her name. Give me a second. I'll tell you her name real quick. She's Bruce Willis's girlfriend in the movie Pulp Fiction. And let me find. I'm going to check the Wikipedia page, and I can find out. Let's see. I can find out who's in the movie here. Okay, give me 2 seconds here. I'll tell you. Oh gosh, come on. No, it's not saying who's she's a. Should mention her. Okay, I'll do this. Yeah. Oh, I know where I can find it. She's in the movie, though. I promise you that. I promise you that. Let's see. Oh, okay. I can find it here, actually. She's actually the director of April Captains. Let's see. Mario de Madrias is her name. She plays a journalist in the film, and she's basically one of the major characters in the film and all of that. So and I do highly recommend this movie. It is one of the prizes of my collection. Every socialist should watch this movie because it is a movie that's very dear to socialists. So let's go ahead and see who's on the chat line, and I got some things I have to do this morning. I got some bills I got to pay and everything. So all right, so we got Eddie Ibarra. Said, good morning, Willie. The Carnation Revolution was one of my favorite revolutions that needed nearly 50 years of fascism regime. The Estado Novo, today Portugal is a progressive country. Yes, it is. Extra Bullet says, where is the techno tango? Oh, wait, wrong. Carry on then. I saved the music video and we'll play it post show. Yeah. Let's see here. All right. Okay, we got Desert Mantis. The Carnation Revolution would lead to the loss of Portuguese colonies in Africa. Yes, it did. Thank you, Eddie Ibarra. I think Angola was one of those colonies. It was. The CIA tried to destabilize it in the mid-70s. I am reading John Stockwell's book. Let's see. Which was led by Antonio de Salazar, a right-wing Christian dictator, that's correct, who was friends with Francisco Franco of Spain. He was uneasy about Francisco Franco, but had an uneasy alliance with him. Let's see. Mozambique, Sao Tome Principe, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and Timor-Leste. Yep, that's correct. Stockwell's book, In Search of Enemy, he was a CIA whistleblower. I cannot think of the name of the book. There's a book called The Wilson Plot. We talked about what the CIA has done to several Western social democratic governments around the world, trying to undermine in many ways. And I wonder if they talk about Prime Minister, I think his name, Neil Kirk of New Zealand. I need to do a video on that eventually. Anyway, let's see. Portugal is my favorite country. I admire Portugal and the Portuguese people. I was planning to go to Portugal for the celebration, but didn't get a chance to go. I had some debt I had to pay off and just some shit that was going on. So I am planning to go to Portugal eventually. Let's see. I assume that you visit Portugal, from which I can tell you it's beautiful. I plan to visit Portugal eventually. As I said, I was going to go last year. Oh, you were talking to Eddie. Let's see. Francisco Franco was leader of Spain for nearly 40 years in Spain, and Portugal is my favorite countries. By the way, I am a Spanish Basque descent. My grandmother on my mom's side of the family is of Basque descent. She's of Basque descent. Her family came down to Puerto Rico. Don't exactly know when, but she's mixed with Basque and the Taino Indian. That was my grandmother when she was alive. So, see, Dissermantis, no one, but one day I would visit Portugal. Same here. Same here. Thank you, Willie, for including the movie link. Yeah, as I said, I'm going to go and add the link as soon as I sign off here. I promise every one of y'all. Let's see here. Let's see. Game.film. How are you doing today? Morning, Willie and fam. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Oh, and thank you about that commentary on that problematic person on Twitter. Let's see. The run-ins I had with her, Courtney. Let's see. Hi. Subtitles. There are subtitles in the movie. Yes. Okay. Yeah, as I said, Maria de Madrios is the star and director of April Captains. Let's see. Last time Willie did karaoke, he set off the copyright mobs. Well, that's also was part of my concern right there. I just did not want to do that. So I figure if I mute it, there shouldn't be a problem. So, and it's a complex song to sing. So y'all don't want to hear me try to sing that particular type of song because it's a little, it's just kind of hard to sing. I should add that song to Gandola. Okay. I'm going to add that song to the link. So there we have it and everything. If everything goes to plan, tomorrow, Tuesday, May the 14th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I should be interviewing, hold on a second here. I should be interviewing Michael Dublin, who's the Green Party candidate for the 2nd Congressional District here in North Carolina. He's running for Congress in the Green Party here in North Carolina for the 2nd Congressional District. I should be interviewing him tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. So just keep in tune to that. If you see a different time, it's because there's been a change or what have you. But just count on, for the time being, we're talking about a hard 95% chance of it being at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow. 7:30 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time. Michael Dublin, who's running for the U.S. House of Representatives in the 2nd Congressional District for the Green Party. We'll be interviewing him. I'm looking forward to this. So, let's see. Willie, will you cover the Mexican election? I am always interested in elections abroad. I'm always interested in elections abroad. So I could do that if you like. So I could do that. And as I said, whenever there's an election that catches my eye, I'll talk about it. And I have talked about past elections in other countries and on this channel before. I talk, whether it's Canada or Brazil or whatever, any country, just to see what's going on in other parts of the world where they do have a little more electoral freedom than we do. Let's see here. Is that the same district Matthew ran in, Willie? Matthew Ho ran for the U.S. Senate in North Carolina, and the second congressional district covers the Raleigh area and part of Johnston County, where I live. I used to be under the second congressional district. I think I'm under the 13th congressional district now. I think, if my memory serves me correct, and there's no Green Party candidate, so I'll probably leave that blank when I vote in November. And who am I going to vote for in November for president? More than likely, I'm going to vote for Jill Stein of the Green Party. I was gung-ho about voting for Cornel West. I don't think he's going to be on the ballot in North Carolina. I don't think that William Stodden is going to be on the ballot in North Carolina, nor do I think Claudia Dela Cruz is going to be on the ballot in North Carolina. But Jill Stein will be, because the Green Party is on the ballot, and I'm going to more likely vote for her. I have voted for her in the past. I'll vote for her again. It's a good vote, and she's shown that she's dedicated to the cause, and she got the fact that she got what the police did to her recently was unspeakable. Was horrible what they did to her, to this woman. She's not a threat to anybody, and what they did to her was just unspeakable. So let's see here. Election day, Mexico is June the 2nd. So I'm going to make a note of that. June 2nd, Mexico election. Okay. All right. And until next time, folks, I got to go because I got stuff that I got to take care of this morning. If you like what you heard, please press like, comment if you agree or disagree with what I have to say. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Also, remember that we need to reject all corporate media, because they have nothing to offer us. And always remember this. Always remember that to free Julian Assange, to free Palestine, free healthcare for all, and free speech. So until next time, thank you for all you have done, and for the people that have been subscribing to my channel, and every one of y'all that has subscribed to my channel in the past 4 years. I do appreciate it. I really do. It means a lot to me. We need to help each other out when it comes to this sort of thing, because the algorithm gods and the big tech, they want to keep small voices on the fringe. They want to keep the truth tellers quiet. So this is why we're here, to defy them and to get the message out, to have a better world. So, and it starts with me and you. So thank you. And again, I'll see you all next time. I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.